Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. A coal task team has been established to intensify the dialogue between government, business and labour on the mineral, which has suffered significant losses owing to falling prices. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer tells us more. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Shannon.
This year's IHS Energy South African Coal Exports Conference centred on falling coal and commodity prices. What are the main issues?
Well, the big thing is that the coal price has fallen to $53 a tonne. That is the January price, which is like 60% below the 2011 peak. And there was a lot of complaining about the price, I must say. And the issue seems to be oversupply. That seems to be the consensus, that demand is not badly down, but supply is too much. And this has caused the price to fall. The laments were loud. Many people were saying that, I'm mining in Mozambique, but I'm exporting at a loss. The logistics costs are so huge. Even people from Botswana were complaining, also saying that, the licensing procedure is not as transparent as it used to be, and they're finding unacceptable things in Botswana which you didn't associate with Botswana, and that the power station Marapule, all 4 units are down, so it's just not operating. And some of the reports coming through from India were that our coal virtually matches their coal. What they need, we've got, and that could be an opportunity, because when the prices are down like that, the Indians like to buy. So the Chinese backing off a bit, perhaps the Indians will fill that gap, and that could be an important take-up for us.
What suggestions have been put forward by a Mineral Resources Minister, Ngoako Ramatlhodi's coal task team?
Yeah, I think Ramatlhodi went down very well there. He did announce that he's got a coal task team. Now, we've had task teams in the past, but they've been industry task teams. He wants to be more commodity specific, because he said that, to deal with it globally is one thing, but you need to get down to the nitty gritty. So he's created this coal task team because he said, the lower price lost South Africa in foreign exchange 25 billion last year, as that price came down. We know that a couple of years ago, coal earned South Africa in foreign exchange more than any other commodity. We always imagine gold and platinum, those were the old stalwarts. All of a sudden, coal is really extremely important. We need every bit of foreign exchange we can get at the moment. So, everybody must start trying to export, but coal is particularly well organized. It's become well organized. Rail has come to the party, the port is very efficient. So they're still insisting, and we spoke to the Richards Bay Coal Terminal people down there, that they're going to, hit their targets of 74 million tons, I think it was, 74 million tons this year. And in fact, they said it was ironic because they had a very active January. It was a very bullish January, they said. So you can see that, it's like a curate's egg. It's good in parts. But overall, they were saying that, no, we've produced too much. So the minister's saying he wants to be hands-on. That's his message. He also spoke of other sectors of mining increasing shifts, which has been an important leg up. I'm sure he was referring to Sibanya, which has put in 22 more shifts at Cook 4, and they're going to increase their profit by 50 million rand as a result, and they've saved 213 jobs. So it's great if people sit and talk together, and that is under section 189, section 189 of the labour laws. The labour, sits down with the employer, and there you found that labour won, employer won, and the shareholders, winning, simply by adding some shifts, and still 1,700 jobs intact. So the minister was saying perhaps we should look at our shifts, because it can give you that productivity leg up. If you're doing 6 days a week instead of 5 days a week, it can make a massive difference. And it'll also come more into line with international standards, because they work around the clock. They work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We've never sort of done that continuous mining yet. It's never got through the union threshold. But I think they're inching towards that as difficulties arise.
Now, a suggestion has been put forward calling for a greater direct role for government in the coal.
Yes.
Could this not be misconstrued as nationalisation?
Well, they pleaded, this is not nationalisation. That was the first step, saying we are a state-owned company. There are state-owned enterprises all around the world. Every country virtually has got its own state-owned mining company that's in mining. if you go to Chile, it's Codelco. If you go to other places, Norway, Norway is very active with the state, but they're very well organized as well. But they point to the fact that there is a role for the state, perhaps more urgent in South Africa because of the coal situation. So, the person who spoke was from the state-owned coal company, which was launched in 2011. They are supplying about 500,000 tonnes to Eskom at the moment. They've just signed a new agreement to sign 1 million tonnes. That is minuscule in Eskom's needs.
Yeah.
So Eskom needs these big private sector companies that can supply millions of tonnes, 120 million tonnes a year they need. So the state company is tiny at the moment. To get the capital, it would have to work through the Central Energy Fund, which it's done, and then raise debt as well, equity and debt. So equity from the shareholder, which is a state-owned enterprise, and then a debt. But they're saying that we will have the same rules as the private sector. So there's no nationalization. We pay the same tax, we pay the same VAT, we do everything. And there are examples of it around the world. So let us be. Don't tell us that it's nationalized. And they claim that there's a lot more scope for this. So they want to try and expand. And they've been given a lot of licenses by the government, which may be a little bit of favoritism. They claim they've got a lot of licenses. Other people maybe do not get licenses as easily. That might be a factor that has to change, because I think everybody should be on all fours. And then the state can compete just to sort of keep a watching brief and perhaps give Eskom special deals when they need them. But I think that maybe the state-owned company wants to go beyond coal. We'll have to watch the space.
Yeah. They also claim that if the state was more involved, there'd be less ghost towns and acid mine drainage. Do you think that's the case?
Well, it's easy to say that now. There was a totally different atmosphere in those days. I mean, Joburg is being built on gold mining. They just allowed enterprises to develop, enterprises that supply the mines, and we can see the result. It's not a bad result. We've got quite a lot of urbanization here. They didn't really think too much environmentally at that stage. It was a different era. So whether the state enterprise would have thought along those lines, it's you've got the benefit of hindsight. So I thought that that maybe could be challenged. Perhaps they would, perhaps they wouldn't have. And there also, you can do things with acid mine drainage. You can extract some of the minerals there. It's almost like mining the sea. So a lot of people don't complain when they've got to do desalination, off South Africa's coast and to get water. Well, here's an opportunity to do the equivalent of inland desalination, get yourself more metals and minerals, phosphates that could be useful. So there's an opportunity there for some private sector company with government cooperation, hopefully.
Yeah.
And the other issue is ghost towns. Well, one imagines that these days they try to create a lot of sustainable development. So, the mining companies want to be catalysts for sustainable development. They know that they're not sustainable because they've got a finite horizon. But they're thinking very early now of creating that sustainability. But in days past, there weren't those thoughts. So I think that we're talking about two different periods.
Finally, what effect will China's coal capping and lower growth have on coal?
Huge effect. It's had a huge effect. This was outlaid at this conference, that China is sort of marking time on its coal use. In fact, if you look at the energy position as a whole, you'll find that coal dropped as a percentage of that from 80% to 75%. So China also coming under these pressures of environmental concerns, environmental protection. So you saw that what coal lost, hydroelectric power gained. And there's a message in there that the Chinese are trying to balance the situation a bit and capping the use of coal, even mining less coal themselves. That's had a very big blow, to coal mining. But the hope is that perhaps India, seeing those low prices, will climb in. And I think South Africa stands in a very good position there. And then you've also got Southeast Asia starting to demand coal, as well as Vietnam and other places around there. So, but at the moment there's like a sentiment as well. You suddenly, the Chinese aren't taking what they used to take, and there's a little bit of impact on the price, which is hurting a lot of people.
Well, thank you very much for your insights.
It's a great pleasure, Shannon.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on South Africa's mining industry.